Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're really diving deep into something that's changing how creators like you think about music. And that is using full tracks to take your storytelling to a whole other level.
Yeah, it's interesting how we all kind of gravitate towards using just these little snippets of music in this world of like, short form content. But honestly, there's a whole universe of possibilities out there just waiting for us when we actually engage with the full journey a song takes you on.
And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We've got some excerpts from a music creator who's really taken this idea and run with it. They actually built this entire global music catalog with this philosophy in mind. They say that to really get the most out of music in your content, to really maximize its impact, you got to go beyond those catchy 30 or 60-second hooks. And what I thought was really cool is how they break down the reasons behind that, like the why of it all.
Yes, and they get into some of the more, I guess you could say, technical side of things, talking about dynamic range. And that might sound kind of like, whoa, maybe a little intimidating at first, but it's actually pretty straightforward. Think of it this way. Dynamic range is basically the difference between the quietest parts of a song and the loudest parts. So a song with a really wide dynamic range where you've got these super quiet moments that build up to this like really powerful crescendo that can make your TikToks so much more dramatic. Like just imagine you're making a TikTok about building a Lego masterpiece, right? So as you're adding each block, the music starts off really soft and subtle, and it gradually builds and builds, mirroring that sense of anticipation as you go, and then bam, the music explodes as you reveal like the final creation.
Okay, I see what you mean. That could be so powerful for like setting the mood and like really bringing people into that moment. And it's not just about the technical side of it either, right? They were talking about the emotional arc of a song as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just like a movie, right?
Yeah.
It's got its high points and low points, moments of laughter, maybe you shed a tear or two. A song can take you on that same kind of emotional roller coaster ride. So if you understand that arc within a song, it lets you choose exactly the right section for the feeling that you want to get across. If you want to inject a little humor into it, maybe that playful bridge is the way to go. But if you need a moment of reflection, then maybe the outro that's a little bit more, melancholic is perfect.
So it's like you're choosing the right tool for the job. But in this case, the tools are like these musical layers and emotions all woven into this complete piece of music.
Okay, but isn't finding the right snippet also like part of that creative process? I mean, I know I spend forever scrolling through Spotify sometimes just trying to find the perfect 30 seconds for my videos. So what does using a catalog like this, what does it offer that I can't just find by digging through what's already out there?
You know, that's a fantastic question. And honestly, that's where this catalog really sets itself apart. I think what this creator really gets is that, today it's all about global reach, right? So they created this catalog that's just insanely diverse. Like it spans all these different genres and languages from literally every corner of the world. We're talking Indonesian pop, Latin rhythms. You can even find some Arabic trap beats in there. You name it, they've probably got it. It's like having a musical passport. Actually, speaking of which, I did notice that they mentioned an artist named Ari Adrian a few times.
Oh yeah, Ari Adrian, he's a great example actually. He's almost like a microcosm of the entire catalog in himself. I mean, this guy has released something like over 20 albums, each one exploring a completely different genre, and sometimes he even blends like multiple influences together. I mean, he's done everything from orchestral scores to J-pop to even some experimental electronica.
Wow, 20 hours, that's incredible. But I see what you mean, though, just having that kind of variety at your fingertips, being able to jump between like a bossa nova track and then something with Mongolian throat singing.
Exactly. It just opens up this whole world of possibilities for creators. Because like no matter what kind of story you're trying to tell or what kind of emotion you want people to feel while they're watching, there's a really good chance there's a sound in this catalog that can help you do it.
Yeah.
It's about like transcending what we're familiar with and tapping into that truly global nature of music.
And that makes so much sense in such an interconnected world like we have now. I can't even tell you how many times I've heard a song in a language I don't understand a single word of, and I've been completely blown away just by the feeling that it conveys. But this goes beyond just like finding a cool, obscure track, right? It's about actually understanding how to use these sounds in a way that really works.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Creating this catalog is only half the battle. The other half is actually knowing how to use the sound strategically. Like imagine you're putting together a travel vlog, right?
Yeah.
Instead of using the same like generic travel music you always hear, you could use a song from whatever region you're visiting. I mean, even if it's just for a little bit, just adds this whole other layer of authenticity, like you're really immersing people in that culture.
That's brilliant. And it goes back to what you were saying before about understanding how a song is structured as a whole.
Exactly.
Mm.
Let's say you find a track and it's got this amazing upbeat intro, but then it kind of fades into this more mellow contemplative vibe. You could use that shift to show like a change of scenery in your video.
Mhm.
Maybe you go from this really bustling marketplace to like a peaceful temple or something.
So each song can become like a narrative tool. It's not just background music anymore. You're literally weaving the sound into the story itself.
Exactly. And when you have that intentionality, it elevates everything you do. It makes it stand out. Think about those filmmakers that everyone knows for their amazing soundtracks.
Yeah.
It's because they get it, you know? They
Yeah.
understand that music, it's not an afterthought. It's like a fundamental part of telling the story.
And this approach, using these full tracks and really understanding all the little nuances, it's like it gives you that same level of control, that ability to craft this complete sensory experience.
Absolutely. It's about being a sound designer just as much as a content creator. It's about creating this experience for your audience that goes beyond just what they're seeing and like taps into something much deeper.
Mm. This is really making me rethink how I approach music altogether, both as someone who makes things, but even just as a listener.
That's amazing to hear. I
Yeah.
think that really speaks to what this creator is trying to do. They're not just sharing music, they're sharing a whole new way of thinking about sound and what we can do with it.
So as we start wrapping up our look at this incredible music catalog, what are some of the key takeaways that you think our listeners should remember? I feel like we've uncovered like a whole secret level of music appreciation today. This is amazing. But for anyone listening who's like, all right, I'm ready to use this. How do I actually make this work? What are the main things to remember?
You know, I think if you just take away one thing from this whole conversation, it's to think beyond that snippet. That's not to say, snippets are bad or anything like that, but when you really engage with like the full arc of a song, it opens up these possibilities that you might not even realize are there.
It's like we've been sketching in pencil this whole time, and now someone just handed us this giant box of colored pencils.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of a whole world of options, don't be afraid to really dive into the diversity of sound that this catalog offers. I know it's easy to get stuck in a rut using the same genres you're comfortable with, but using music from different cultures can bring something totally new to what you're doing. Remember Ari Adrian with his 20 albums?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that spirit of experimentation we're talking about.
He's like the Indiana Jones of music, always off on some new sonic adventure. But it's not just about finding the coolest, most obscure track out there, right? It's about understanding how to actually use it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, you got it. And that kind of leads into the last thing.
Hmm.
Think of music as like a storytelling tool in itself, just like when a writer chooses their words carefully. They don't just throw any word down on the page. It's the same with music. You can use different sections of a song. You can use different instruments, different cultural vibes, even to create a very specific emotion to kind of enhance the story that you're already telling.
So less about background noise, more like intentional soundscaping.
You got it. Think about it this way. Let's say you're making a movie. You wouldn't just use like one generic light source
Yeah.
for every single scene, right? You'd have soft lighting. You might use spotlights. You might even use color gels to kind of set the mood. And it's the same with music.
Wow, this has been really eye-opening. I'm already thinking about all the ways I can use this.
I love to hear that. That's what's so great about it.
Yeah.
It's not about following some rigid set of rules. It's really just about looking at the power of music in a new way. And who knows, by tapping into this amazing catalog and really listening to the stories that are hidden inside each song, maybe we'll all start creating content that's more engaging, more impactful, and honestly, just more reflective of this beautifully diverse world that we live in.
I love that thought. So as we all go out and explore this new world of sound, here's a little something to think about. If a single song can transport you to a different place, a different time, what kind of incredible journeys can you create when you really unlock the full potential of music? Think about it. That's it for today's deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and as always, thanks for listening.